Let's now take a look at some of the views expressed by Project Minister Rohita Abhigunawardena in Parliament yesterday.
What is parliamentarian Mangal Samaravira speaking of? I brought his Hansard along with me today. He spoke about the Commonwealth Summit as if he was not a Sri Lankan national, as if he was not born in this country. Even if you disregard his political agenda, this is a great act of treason. He spoke about the Commonwealth Summit with hatred and jealousy. If you ask the people of this country, even if you ask the gentlemen in the UNP, people like Joseph Michael would say that they accept this summit as a country. But what does he do? We were able to clearly see his hatred and spite. We need to remind that his actions were condemned by everyone. If we read the Hansard documents on the speeches he made, you would be able to see that they do not suit this country. This is what Buddhika Patirana had to say to the Maubima newspaper on the 28th.
මැතිනියගේ ආණ්ඩුව පෙරළූ කාලකන්ණි අප්පොච්චිලාගේ අවජාතක පුත්තු අද එජාපයත් විනාශ කරන්න හදනවා. මේ බලන්න. මේ කවුද කියන්නේ? මේ කියන්නේ අපේ බුද්ධික පතිරණ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා මේ කියන්නේ. මේ මාපිල්ලෝ මැරියන්. මැරුණට පස්සේ සෝනටත් හෙන ගහපන්. කියලායි UMP කාර්යයන් කියන්නේ. බලන්න අපේ මගේ තරුණ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා බලන්න. කවුද? තරුණ මගේ හරින් මන්ත්‍රීතුමා බලන්න මේ කෑල්ල කියවල මේ මාපිල්ලු මැරියන් මරුණට පස්සේ ඕනට දෙන ගහපන් කියලා UMP කාර්ය.
Harin Fernando, read this segment. UNPers are cursing these individuals. The party earlier boasted of leaders such as DSN Nanayaka, Dadrisen Nanayaka and John Kotolawala. Don't allow these serpents to destroy everything. If this happens, there will be a very dangerous situation that arises. Buddhika Patirana also says this. Listen very carefully. The fathers of certain individuals who are trying to teach us about the UNP crossed over to the party to defeat the government of Sirimao Bandaranaike. They stabbed her in the back and crossed over in 1964. It is said that they crossed over for 50,000 rupees and a bottle of Iraq. Now, their sons are destroying the party.
මැතිනියගේ ආණ්ඩුව පෙරලන්න මැතිනියට පිටිපස්සෙන් පීයෙන් අනලා රුපියල් 50000යි ගල්ලරක්කු බෝතලයයි අරගෙන තමයි මේ පැත්තට ආවේ කියලා කියනවා. අද එහෙම කරපු කාලකන්ණියන්ගේ පුත්තු තමයි අද එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය විනාශ කරන්න කියලා කියනවා. මම කියනේව නෙවෙයි.
This is not what I am saying. This is the manner in which they obtain positions of chairman in various institutions.
මේක තමයි අද මංගල සමන නඩියක් දෙන්න කරනවා. ඔබතුමා අනේ මං හිතුවා ආවම හොඳයි කියලා. මේ කතිකෝ දෙන්නෙක් නෑ. අද මේක තමයි ඇත්ත.
This is the reality. There are public representatives who act according to their policies. We respect these individuals. However, there are those who engage in politics with hatred. The people are prepared to provide such individuals with their response at the next parliamentary election. So, honourable parliamentarian, be prepared for it.
ඊළඟ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මැතිවරණයේදී උන්ට උත්තර දෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කියනවා. ඒ උත්තරය.
Welcome back to the news. Now, large crowds, including politicians, paid their last respects to late R.I.T. Alast, who was a renowned educationalist.
The remains of the late R.I.T. Alast lies at his residence down Kurupu Lane in Buralla. The late R.I.T. Alast was 81 years old at the time of his demise. Large crowds were present today at his residence to pay their last respects. The final rites of the late R.I.T. Alast will take place on Monday at the Buralla Cemetery. And up next is Action TV. In the year 2000, steps were taken to formulate a service constitution for the State Audit Service with the aim of streamlining the work of the Auditor General's Department to achieve productivity and efficiency. Thereby, the then Secretary to the President appointed a single-member committee for this purpose. Making its recommendations in 2007, the committee pointed out that the Sri Lanka Audit Service and the Sri Lanka Audit Examiner Service be merged together and the respective tasks to be decentralized. However, the Sri Lanka Audit Services Union, which included some of the top brass at the Auditor General's Department, refused to accept the recommendations made to merge the services. Despite this objection, the then Auditor General obtained permission to expand the staff at the Auditor General's department based on the recommendations made by this committee. Thereby, permission was obtained to create new positions at the Auditor General's department for 2 additional Auditor Generals, 7 Deputy Auditor Generals, 30 Assistant Auditor Generals, 70 Superintendents of Audits and 121 Grade 1 and 2 Audit Examiners. Though the list of the approved cadre was released by the Department of Management Services after the current Auditor General took office, the current Auditor General took steps to pass a services constitution for the Sri Lanka Audit Service alone rather than for a merged service. This attempt was made futile after the Secretary to the Auditor General intervened. Later, the Secretary to the Auditor General appointed a committee, and its recommendation was that the Sri Lanka Audit Service and the Audit Examiners Service be merged and renamed as the State Audit Service, and the Services Constitution be established for the State Audit Service. What needs to be done now is for Cabinet approval to be sought for the Sri Lanka State Audit Services Constitution. The cadre for this service should be the cadre that was approved by the Department of Management Services in 2007 as requested by the then Auditor General. However, the current Auditor General has taken measures to obtain approval for a separate cadre. This measure was not taken with the aim of making the work for the Auditor General's department more productive and more efficient, but to grant promotions to some of the top brass at the department. Surprisingly, 3 positions for additional Auditor Generals are to be created rather than the 2 positions that were approved. Furthermore, 8 new Deputy Auditor Generals are to be appointed in addition to the 7 positions that were approved. Moreover, interviews have already been called for the 30 new positions created for Assistant Auditor General. This is a letter calling for the interview. Who granted the powers to the Auditor General to call for interviews for these positions before it was announced via a Gazette notification and even before the Cabinet has approved the Services Constitution? Can the creation of 2 new positions made to please individuals and turning a blind eye to additional expenditure that the department has to bear be justified? Audit Secretary, this is over to you.
Time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day.
On to other local news. Today marks the 3rd day of the Inter-Mega Karmanta 2013 Trade Fair and Exhibition. Newsfirst is a media sponsor of the exhibition, which is being held at the Kandy City Centre.
The exhibition was declared open today under the auspices of several high-ranking officials in the banking sector in Kandy. A photography exhibition depicting the Tibetan way of life and its natural beauty was also held concurrent to the exhibition. The event, being organized by the Central Province Chamber of Commerce, is set to conclude tomorrow.
Tonight on Words of Wisdom, we bring you the thoughts of Italian painter, visionary and polymath Leonardo da Vinci.
The greatest deception men suffer is from their own opinions. Leonardo da Vinci. Well, here's a look at another selfless individual shortlisted for this year's V Awards 2013, which honors those who dedicate their lives for voluntary service.
V Awards 2013.
This is Arlia Abesekara. She commits her time to help those who are rendered helpless. She can be considered as an individual who sacrifices her time for the betterment of the others. She uses her knowledge and skills to assist the recovery of the patients being treated at the Angoda Mental Hospital. Though many illnesses can be cured through medication, her service shows that love and care to another can lead to a healthy life. Hailing from Ratmalana, she is a fine example to those who serve to uplift the lives of others through guidance.
Well, now in your sports news, R.A. Arunasiri won the men's open category of the marathon that was organized to mark the anniversary of the president assuming office.
Now, Viresha Lawrence won the women's open category. The marathon event was sponsored by Sports First.
The event kicked off this morning from the Parliament roundabout and ended at the Buddhadasa grounds in Pallavatta. The entire course of marathon was 42 kilometers. The marathon was held under 3 categories and over 300 athletes competed in the event today. ST Gunasekara and RM Indika were placed 2nd and 3rd in the men's open category. Dhammika Malkanti and Ravina Deepani were placed 2nd and 3rd respectively in the women's open category. DL Samarjiva won the men's 21-kilometer half marathon, while NG Rajaratna won the women's event of the same category.
Now moving on to baseball, Sri Lanka emerged victorious in their first game of the 11th West Asian Baseball Championships worked off in Pakistan today.
The baseball championships commenced today at the Punjab grounds in Lahore, Pakistan. Afghanistan, Nepal and Sri Lanka are the other countries participating in the championships along with Pakistan. Sri Lanka faced Nepal in their first match, which commenced today, secured victory with a score of 18-0. Nelanka Karunaratne and Samira Ratnayaka contributed with 3 runs each to the winning score of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka will face Afghanistan at the match scheduled for tomorrow.
Well, that's all from the Newsfirst Centre here in Colombo. It's a pleasure having you with us. I'm Minoshi Ratnasekara.
And I'm Shanjaram Pati. We leave you with a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Good night and take care.
At 9.
Hotline 0114 896 896 www.newsfirst.lk